New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Welcome. It's wonderful to have you back at Global Focus today. We have a marvelous guest. We always do. But this one is one of my real personal favorites. He's just a family of my heart. Reverend Dr. Charles Geddes is an amazing minister. He's had 50 years of New Thought ministry before he started his current nonprofit, which is called MYOB, Mind Your Own Becoming. He moved from 14 years of spiritual work and ministry in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, to the mountains of Montana. I mean, as far away as you could get. He's living just outside of Helena. He was born in Colorado, I just found out today, in Denver. And the mountains have always been a part of his soul. He's a founding board member of what is now the oldest annual ongoing metaphysical retreat in the world, the Big Sky Retreat. And next year will be its 48th year. Please help me welcome Dr. Charles Geddes. It's so wonderful to have you here. Thank you for saying yes.
That was easy.
So I want to know what's been happening since the last time you were here. For instance, the first time you were on my show, you had just started MYOB. So what have you gained? What have you learned in the process of getting this ministry off the ground? And focus ministry is a non-trivial thing. It takes a lot of balls in the air. So what's going on with you?
I think the greatest reality is the immensity of the challenge that it is, because I was in the structure of church center ministry for all those years. And in actuality, Mind Your Own Becoming is not the same. It's not a center. It's not a church. And defining it in my heart as a ministry, yes, but in the reality of what we are doing, the importance that we are emphasizing that we are a forum for dialogue on the issues and realities of our time, that the greatest and sometimes overwhelming reality of these past years and putting this together is that in the traditional center work and Sundays and everything that we did in New Thought, it was about, first of all, traditional ministry has changed and is changing dramatically. However, the focus was that to inspire people on Sunday morning and have them leave feeling better than when they came in. Mind Your Own Becoming is not that. It is about pushing buttons and challenging people to have uncomfortable dialogue in the reality of our world today, and that more vital than ever, taking in the heart and core of new thought teachings and really putting them to work, that we all belong without exception. But one of the core factors of Mind Your Own Becoming is owning and being accountable for what we haven't understood, and particularly in the world of entitlement and white supremacy and everything that has gone with that, and owning our not to be shamed in being white, how vital that is to understand, but to be open to realizing what we haven't known and owned in our history, and to assure that the future is better because we have the courage to face it, see it, and see that future generations do a much better job. And that encompasses all of us, every faith, every race, every soul upon the earth, that we're in this together and there are no others. And I can't begin to tell you how not easy that is.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's so that's the core of it. I'm challenged, and I keep on realizing that to do the best I can, but it's different.
Well, I know I've been taking equity classes myself, because once you figure out what you don't know, then you realize that you need to find out the rest of what you don't know. And it just keeps getting deeper. And I don't know how people do it by themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, Mind Your Own Beginning is so important because it gives you the word you used is forum. It gives you a place to explore what you don't know, to explore what you need to know, to explore what you can do, what you can be, what you can become, all of that. And so thank goodness for you.
Well, yeah, I love what you just said too. You said mind your own beginning, and in actuality, it is minding your origin, because our origin for all of us is stardust. We all came from the same stuff, and in that, the impetus for the term mind your own becoming was that we are responsible to do the deeper inner work on ourselves, and how vital that is, and that there are universal spiritual principles that are essential to that. And I would say that one of the things that I'm realizing more than ever is the importance that I bring those principles to light in our programming. And I want to share the 5 principles very quickly, if I
Oh,
can.
yes. The floor is yours.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure you're going to say, no, don't do that. No, but, the first one, and these came as a result of the inquiry that I brought forth into my soul a few years ago, of what have I learned out of all these decades of work and soul work in ministry? What have I learned are the most important factors of living a life in which I can be deeper, clearer, freer to make a difference, because I've done that inner work on my soul and it's ongoing. And that first one was to free others to be where they are, not where you want them to be. So that we step out of codependencies, that we step out of fixing anyone else, and realize that I can only evolve for Charles, not for anyone else. But I can plant seeds. I can plant seeds and make heart prints out of the work I do on myself. And the second one, be aware of what is yours to carry and what is yours to set free. And realize that the stories we carry forward are essential to the journey of future generations. The indigenous beings and souls that, particularly here, that I know in the American soil, that it was let your decisions be something that will be impactful for generations ahead, for generations ahead. And we don't think of that. We haven't thought of that. And I want to think of that. I want to live so that my heart print is a vibration that is for the future, for love, for all. And the third, remember, forgiveness is an ongoing journey of freedom for you. And wow, is that essential? I'm still, you know, if you're breathing, you have forgiveness work to do. And I love this from Mark Twain. Forgiveness is the fragrance that the violet sheds on the heel that has crushed it. Mm. And then the fourth, never give up, but be willing to step back and align to your true passion. You know, I have had so many moments that I've had to reassess, review, take another look at what I'm doing and realize that maybe I need to see it from a different place and align to something deeper. And so it's intention and passion, but don't be caught in the outcome of anything. And then the last one, and I like this because I love to keep things simple. Sometimes I say how wonderful it is to be simple-minded because it makes things so much clearer. You have two choices in life, better or bitter. Better or bitter. I want to look in the mirror and see a better Charles, not a bitter one, a better Charles. So those are the principles that I feel are essential to healthy living and making a difference for future generations.
I love that you put focus on making a difference for future generations. I have some Native American forebears, and that was a really important concept in their philosophy, was that we had to take care of the earth because we were borrowing it from our future generations. But the thing I love most about your name, Mind Your Own Becoming, is that it's such a clever title, because nobody, like you said, the only person who can become Charles is you. The only person who can become Sharri is me. Nobody can become for anybody else.
No.
And we can't have somebody else become for us. It's an inside job. But it will happen whether we're paying attention or not. And you are saying, pay attention.
Yes. Yeah.
I like it. So what do you mentioned briefly forgiveness, which I think is probably the thing that would do more toward healing anyone or anything in the world, is if we could master forgiveness, starting with ourselves and working our way out to infinity. But I'm curious to know what you see. Is you have structure, like 5 points. So what keys do you see for forgiveness?
I'm realigning right now to that. And that the most vital person to forgive ultimately is myself. And I've become more conscious and aware than ever of the judgment and condemnation that I held against Charles for most of my life. And from the complexity of my identity sexually, that, at 82 years old, when I was born in 1941, we did not have the insight and awareness of how complex the reality of sexuality is. And that deep in my soul, I truly felt that there was an abhorrent being inside there, ugly, abhorrent. And that was the word. And so coming to that insight that genuine forgiveness has to be with my own inner inquiry, of letting go of all of that, of finding my way to free that. And in regards to any event, person, place, or thing, or situation, or anything that's ever occurred to me, that the liberation of my soul, forgiveness is essential to that. I cannot go forward and be better when I am holding rage, a sense of hate toward anyone or anything in the past. It doesn't mean I make anything okay that was horrific and horrible. And in our world today, oh my God, and in our world from the beginning and the dawn of history, we see horror and violence and terror. But that the ultimate journey forward has to be creating the bridges of healing, the bridges of forgiveness, and the bridges of listening to one another. Sometimes we can't resolve and forgive someone in our past. They've moved on, and forgiveness doesn't mean that you're suddenly best friends. Not at all. But it means that you're no longer charged into the pain that occurred, that you have put it to good purpose. So that inner work on self-forgiveness is essential. And then that inner work on freeing others again to be where they are, not where you want them to be, whether they've forgiven or not, or realized or not. And then finally, the peace that comes when you truly feel forgiving about yourself, that you are looking in the mirror and you're not seeing that sense of something being wrong with you, that you're finally seeing, I am enough just as I am, and I love the enough that I am. I am enough just as I am, and I love the enough that I am, and work from there.
One of my ministers, when I was just beginning to explore New Thought, gave me an exercise that I just loved. She said, you want to learn forgiveness, and we'll talk about Neil Donald Walsh's story about forgiveness too, because that's really a wonderful one. But she said, if you want to learn forgiveness, what you need to understand is that every human being is carrying a gunny sack full of rocks on their back. And it's invisible, but the rocks are heavy. And every one of them is something that needs to be forgiven.
Yeah.
And because it needs to be forgiven, we can't just ignore it. We have to carry it around with us until we get around to forgiving it. And so forgiveness is the exercise of taking the sack off your back, opening it up, pulling out a rock, looking at it, seeing what it is, and then throwing it as far away as you can with love.
Yes.
And love is what chases it. Love is what gives it its impetus to go. And so we did that. We went out in the country with a gunny sack full of rocks, and we had sat down and written things on the rocks. There was like 6 of us written on the rocks, the things we did forgive. And then we did that. We took turns slinging those rocks as far as we could. And by the time we were done, we were just giddy. We were laughing so hard. We were just giddy, and we felt so much lighter. Because when you have forgiven something, it has been released. It hasn't been condoned. It hasn't been approved, but it has been released from your presence, from your conscious awareness. And that makes us lighter. That makes us lighter. So I wish that when we're teaching the the 3 R's to our first graders that we were teaching them about forgiveness too. Of course, they don't need to learn it because they already know. No,
Yeah.
It's unforgiveness that we teach them. They're born knowing forgiveness. But I mentioned Neil Donald Walsh. He wrote a book called, he wrote all the Conversations with God's books, but he wrote a children's book called The Little Soul in the Sun. And it's about an angel, a soul that's just getting ready to be incarnated. And so the angel who's in charge of telling them where they're going to go says, what do you want to learn this time? And the little soul says, I want to learn forgiveness. I don't know what that means, but I've heard that word a lot and I want to learn what it means. And the angel says, boy, I wish you'd asked for something else. The little person says, why? He says, well, because you can't learn forgiveness by yourself. Someone has to help you. So another little soul comes up and volunteers to help the first soul learn forgiveness. And all the second soul asks is that you just have to promise you'll do one thing for me. Because in order for me to help you learn forgiveness, I have to do something for you to forgive. And in order for me to do something for you to forgive, I have to forget who I really am.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
And I love that story because that's what it's all about, is that when someone is in our life and something happens that we think needs forgiving, we don't have to love what they did. We don't have to condone what they did, but we can be grateful that they brought us that opportunity to sling the rock.
And we all suffer from spiritual amnesia.
Oh, yeah.
And we're brought into the world in what I believe is a original innocence and the potentiality of what we've come for good purpose. And I really believe that we do have insight before we come into this lifetime as to the potentialities, and I use the word potentialities of what we want to do, what we want to experience and express for the ultimate reality of what we're all here for, to be in co-creation together to bring heaven on earth. And what does heaven mean? For me, it means the expansion of consciousness, the expansion of awareness that love is all there is. And that when we live from that, everything takes form in a different manner and way. And so, this whole journey of forgiving is that I have good purpose in my life as a result of whatever I've moved through, whatever I've gone through, that it hasn't made me angry and bitter and hateful, but it's enabled me to put good purpose into life that makes a difference because of what I have moved through. And again, those rocks, the baggage that I've carried, that I'm lighter and lighter as I walk this earth.
Okay, so I got two questions and they're separate. So I'll ask the other one first because the second one's going to take longer to answer, I think. What audience do you most want to draw as regular attention? Who's your focus for your focus ministry is Mind Your Own Becoming? Who's your focus for that ministry?
People with a thimbleful of openness. With a thimbleful, because that's all it takes, that we're finally willing to be together on a healing bridge together, that we can listen compassionately and openly. And we may not, it's not about that we come into agreement necessarily with one another, but that we are willing to be open to hear the other side in a way that we haven't. When we're caught in the need to be right about our view or opinion, it really blocks our capacity to understand where the other person is coming from, and understanding the roots of that, because I do believe that extreme views that really separate us from coming together are the whole reality and challenge of what we're facing in our world right now. And I want to understand the roots of what makes someone feel so separate, hateful, filled with anger and rage. I want to have some understanding of where that came from. And I may not change it for them, but I can be in deeper observance for myself so that I know what is in my heart to do prayerfully for them. You know, earlier this year, I fell prey to a scam that cost quite a bit, emotionally and and financially. Although grace has sustained and carried me through because I live by that. But the bottom line is that the first thing when I realized that I had fallen prey and stepped back from the decision that I made to trust, trust what was what I was being told, and it was totally, how could I have done that? I only after I observed and realized, well, I did that because inside me was still shame and guilt that I hadn't realized was there so deeply, and I felt that I had done something very wrong, and they were guiding me to fix it. It was cleared in regards to, no, I didn't get the funds back, but I did get gracious contribution to help me through. And the first thing I did was to pray for that person that was the scammer, and for everyone, that there's a higher and better way for them to find sustenance, love, purpose, and meaning in their lives. There's a higher way. That's the first thing. Oh my God, maybe this occurred for me because I was meant to be aware and pray for them. And so I do. I pray for them. And to me, that's the heart. So when I say about who I want to draw to mind your own becoming, are people willing to pray for one another in a way differently than ever, that we're all here for ultimate good purpose and love and regard and respect for one another. And can we find our way through that and just plant the seeds for that, for everyone to find their way on the path of love, on the path of good purpose. So a thimble full of openness wherever you're coming from, to be on mind your own becoming.
Okay, so I heard you say nobody can become Charles but Charles.
Right.
So mind your own becoming is because nobody can become you but you.
That's right.
But how do you, how would I, if I were part of your crew, so to speak, how do you support someone in opening up to the possibility of becoming more or different from what they perceive themselves to be at that time?
And that goes back to the 5 principles, and that goes back to the importance of one of the things that we are working on to expand, and that isn't currently happened, but that we want to have more classes and workshops for that very purpose. Because mind your own becoming on Thursday nights is an hour only, and it's quite compact in what we do. And one of the key things that we are moving forward on is to bring more and more speakers and presenters that have the backgrounds and the credentials to present content on deeper subjects that we address ever so briefly on Mind Your Own Becoming. And the current reference to the principles is ongoing, and we seek to tie those in to the subjects that we present. But it is important that we do more, because we're not doing enough to honor that cause and that need for ongoing support. So we've made some shifts in our website that have streamlined our um, linguistics. One of the things that we're really working on consistently is to have a clearer statement of what we want to be about. And so one of the key things is that open thought, open dialogue, and that opening minds, so that we bring people in again with that draw, and out of that we are bringing, we put our values, just go over those very quickly, but our values are awareness, forgiveness, personal and collective, gratitude, love, non-judgment, collective evolution, and inclusivity. Diversity and inclusivity leads to equality, equity, all regardless of race, religion, color, culture, sexual orientation, age, ability, gender, identity. All of us together. Can we come together and listen how incredible we all are if we're just willing to open our mind and open dialogue and go deeper? That I'm in you, you're in me, we're in all. Can we finally come to something simpler in how we live, purer in what we do, and that it's good purpose for all without exception?
Wow. Now, there are some questions I ask every one of my guests, and you just walked right into one of them.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Because, and it's not usually the first one I ask, but it's the first one I'm going to ask you because you gave me such a perfect opening. Presuming, let's use that word instead, presuming that every single detail, every event, every relationship, every occasion of your life for the next 10 years goes exactly the way you'd like to see it go. What does Mind Your Own Becoming look like 10 years from today?
That it's in good hands. That whatever I have done in the gift of the years that I have, that I've gone deeper than ever, that I've done the deeper work on Charles, and I have brought people in that get it, that have the talent, that have the heart, that have everything needed to carry forward this pure intention. Because this isn't about me, and it never has been. It's about us. And the small thing that I'm doing right now in Mind Your Own Becoming, it's happening all over the world. There are more light workers than ever. But I would love for Mind Your Own Becoming to endure beyond me. And that also I have written something that ultimately endures in the reflections of my soul, so that maybe one day in the future, someone will pick up the book that I have written, and not just my Mind Your Own Becoming because love wins, little booklet on the origin of it, but that someone will come across it, open it, and read, and it will make a difference in their journey. It will imprint their heart. So that's what I want to see in the gift of time before me, and for the potentiality of Mind Your Own Becoming to become more and more, because I'm willing to be very uncomfortable at times and like, oh my God, what am I doing? And learning, I can do it better. I can do it better. We can have more involved. We can have more workshops and classes that go deep on how we can see a world different for generations to come.
Boy, you are a great straight man, because you just led me right into the next question. How does, seriously, you'll see, how does what you're doing with Mind Your Own Becoming, how does that encourage, enhance, develop, support, pick your own verb, conscious evolution on an individual and collective level? Conscious evolution.
Conscious evolution is the only thing that we can be conscious and aware of in regards to it works. And that every individual that is doing their deeper soul work and seeking to make heart prints, that wherever you go, wherever you walk, that the simplicity and the purity of it does and can make a difference. And when there are a significant number of individuals that are doing this work together and all over the planet, there is and can be a collective shift of consciousness. And there will be that, because the option is total annihilation of humanity in the way that we have known it, or the evolution of humanity in a way in which we work together to make love made visible for everyone. And that a part of that is that we need to live more simply. We need to live without being so driven to have things, and realize you can't take things with you, but heart prints you can leave, and they are a part of your own evolution of consciousness.
I'll have an order of that, thank you. And okay, here's the next question. It's very similar, but it's not the same. It sort of grows out of that one, which makes sense. How does what you're doing with Mind Your Own Becoming, individually and collectively, how does that encourage, support, reveal, expose, whatever, pick your verb, world peace?
I can only tell you what that word means to me, and that I am no longer at war and divisiveness with Charles. I'm no longer in a struggle with his sense of wholeness and well-being. That the peace that passeth understanding is a peace that no matter what is occurring around me, that I have an innate anchor and strength that is immovable, that is solid, that carries me on. And that peace for the world, can only come when we realize that we all have a right to be. But the greatest insight of all is that we're here to love and regard one another equally, equally, without measure, equally. So that's the big one. To simply say peace in the world, to sing the peace song. And yes, it does begin with me, but that to really know this is, Reverend Sharri, this is the first time in my life that I have felt so at peace with this man that when I take my little joint custody dog, Gussie, for his walks, and I'm in the glory of the mountains, the wonder of seasons, and the seasons are about our soul, and that this is the first time that when I am walking, I am in a peace beyond defining, and I send that vibration out to the world that everyone might know it, that everyone might feel it. And if we all ultimately come to do that, walk in that peace, oh, what a difference it will make for world peace.
Okay, here's the last question. Will you come back?
Oh, I would love to come back. I would love to come back. And I want to read something in closing. This is something I wrote so long ago, but it's so important to remember. And it's about, I call it the healing bridge that we can all come upon. And there is a bridge in a secret place that's found within our heart. It's a magic space that's always there, no matter what the storm or thought. It's a place of rainbows and meadowlarks of glorious color, sweet, fragrant flowers, and the sound of a crystal stream on its way to eternity. There's a gentle breeze that caresses our skin, awakening us to the presence of angels. And no matter which side we approach the bridge, there is only a beauty above and below us. On this bridge, we can behold the wonder of this space. We can meditate alone and listen to the sounds of nature and pure waters. We can contemplate a rainbow in the distance and know the promise of the gold within our soul. We can lift our pain and release it to the stream and feel the cleansing of the Eternal's love. Renewing our mind, remembering it was love in the beginning, and it is only love that heals. And on this bridge, we can invite whomever we choose to spend time in communion. We can stand together in silence and peace. We can let go of all else and heal the wounds and know the rainbow before us is also about forgiveness. It matters not that we hold the same view of life or that we cross the other side together. It is enough we stand together on the bridge. Our destiny and truth is the stream beneath us that will carry us all home. This healing bridge is a means of remembrance, and we stand together in the midst of grace. There is a bridge in a secret place that's found within our heart.
Dr. Charles, I received that poem from one of your board members, Jim Stark, 2.5 years before the first time I met you. And I fell in love with you when I read that poem. That is one of my favorite readings in the whole world. Thank you so much for sharing it today. And I'm so glad you did too, Tracy. Hi. October 1st of next year is my next opening. Can I sign you up?
Yes, I will be thrilled.
I'll send you a reminder when it's time.
And can I show everybody my bug?
Oh, you must. You must.
Come here. Come on. I want you to meet some people. Okay. Yeah. Here's my little soul companion.
Hello. Hello, baby.
Yeah.
What a cute
guy. Yeah, he is a sweetheart.
Well, dog is God backwards.
Yeah, you got it. So thank you, Reverend Sharri.
Oh, thank you so much for coming. And folks, don't forget to be here next week, because next week we have Reverend Barbara Schreiner Trudell from CSL on the Lake in Canada. And she's marvelous, and you're going to love her, just like you love everybody who comes on here. In the meantime, have a great week. Bye-bye.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hepperlin Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Spiritual Center, Kitchener, Om Center for Spiritual Living, La Mesa, Satya Center, Center for Spiritual Living, North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and Center for Spiritual Living, Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for making New Thought Media Network a place to be. Please come be you. And remember, like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
Amazing, amazing. You will do amazing